Welcome back, Officer of Public Discourse, Honorable Police Chief AP Gaines, back at the exact same time every single day for 369 straight days. So you just got SLKR either as your first Galactic Legend or very early on in your account. You don't have 8 million GP, likely, if you're watching this video. So you need a little bit more development. What is SLKR good at? What is he bad at? What can you do to develop your roster to get it more squared off? And potentially, if you can combine time, money, and will to live, become a perfect cube. I think we actually have a Discord bot up on the Patreon exclusive Discord for the cube before it goes to web app development. So if you want to get on alpha, I think we finally have a usable product that you don't have to run some code for. But SLKR, a lot of people are farming him, well, ever since he came out, to be perfectly honest. And yes, offensive Galactic Legends are not nearly as good as defensive Galactic Legend for the simple fact that, you know, offensive Galactic Legends win you one battle, defensive Galactic Legends have the opportunity to win you multiple battles. And especially in a GAC landscape where you're always punching up, being able to get more value, more efficiency out of each and every one of your teams, and especially your Galactic Legends, is very important. But that being said, he's very good at crushing people on offense, and you're likely going to, you know, use it against whatever your opponent's strongest defensive Galactic Legend is, and use the rest of your roster to kind of exist around it. What can we do to develop the roster in the wake of Galactic Legend Supreme Leader Kylo Ren to get us back on track? Well, if we start, there's pretty easy things that we want to do, and you'll notice a theme here. We want to get a little bit wider defensively. Height being, you know, fewer teams, but they're more powerful. Wide being more teams, they're less powerful. The combination of both makes a nice little beautiful square on our roster metric. So Qui-Gon Jinn Omicron is one where even if you don't, I mean, you probably don't have Cam, but whatever guys you use here, as long as Jedi Knight Anakin's there, as long as Jedi Knight Anakin is like Relic 3 or above, and these guys exist, this team has the potential in lower levels of GAC. I mean, Kyber 3, Kyber 2, probably not so much at this level, but wherever you are, where you can do relatively minimal investment and get... You have a higher opportunity to get upsized return on defense because you have a much higher chance of, you know, incurring a two-shot. A lot of people who are experienced and have well-developed rosters will have a bunch of easy ways to get really good banners against Qui-Gon Jinn. But if you're in a position where SLKR is your only Galactic Legend, your first Galactic Legend, you need to develop your roster, a quick investment of an Omicron, which is going to have staying power for the rest of time, and a minimum investment across a team, really only requiring a strong Jedi Knight Anakin, you can do wonders. If you can get this team to have like crazy offense or crit damage or whatever with a Datacron, you're gonna absolutely blow people up who aren't expecting it. So lots of value there to be had. The next one's going to be also kind of obvious, General Anakin Skywalker. Now, this is not just General Anakin Skywalker, but likely what I see happening is people go, we have the Core 8 teams, obviously. And for those of you guys who don't know what the Core 8 teams are, CLS, Empire, but mostly just Vader Solo at first, and then these kind of all transition into their own teams. Bounty Hunter is transitioning from Bosk Lead into Bounty Hunter Snipe. Padme, both of the Revan teams, General Grievous, and then Gas. So at this point, we want to probably finish up the rest of our core, which seems pretty obvious, but a lot of people go like, you know, they go like CLS, Imp Troopers, you know, Padme into SLKR or whatever. At this point, this is basically just saying, specifically, make sure you go Padme, GG Sep, Gas. If you don't understand what those acronyms are, Padme, Galactic Republic, they're really good in the early game. They taper off, but they kind of disperse into other teams, so the investment is definitely worth it. General Grievous, Separatist Droids will blow people up on offense or defense. It gives you flexibility. Also gives you upsize return on defense. And is surprisingly good against things like Sith Eternal Emperor if you happen to see it on defense, which you will more frequently in lower levels when people don't understand that C is not a good defensive team. And then Gas finally is going to be one of your more powerful teams. He's going to kind of anchor your defense for the rest of time. Anytime you can get extra defense or crit damage through Datacrons. I did like one Datacron last season where there was defense and crit damage. It was like no rerolls. I just went through. I got all of the resources basically naturally through like doing feats for conquest to get like a slightly higher box. And he went from like on average holding like 1.7 times in a month to like upwards of 2. It was like 2.2 holds around, which was fucking ridiculous. And this was in Kyber 3 where people should theoretically be able to crush a low-level gas. Now, maybe that's because they saw low-level gas, so they used a counter that they thought would beat a low-level gas. They didn't do the damage, and then when gas crits, you kind of get fucked, especially if he ramps on buffs and his crit damage is like 100% higher. Definitely can catch a lot of people off guard. But this is mostly just telling you that Padme, GG Sep, Gas, you should probably pick those up. Yes, obviously it's nice to already have double Revens going into SLKR, but we'll talk about a couple of things because double Revens might seem obvious, but Traya right here is absolutely fantastic. And I feel like a lot of people across thousands and thousands and thousands and oh my God, too many thousands of roster reviews that we've done over the years. Even prior to Omicron's existing, a lot of people didn't have Traya. I used to always have a quote that I would say back in ye olden days, prior to money-based matchmaking. So a lot of you guys who watch me don't even know this universe. But I used to say the most important Zeta is always the Zeta you have when you unlock Darth Traya. Because there was like these weird STD teams. STD stands for not sexually transmitted disease, but sometimes difficult teams where if you don't have the counter, they're really hard to beat. But if you have the counter, it's not a problem at all. And a lot of people in this like 1.5 year era were really, really falling victim to one of the easiest STD teams, the Geonosians, which spawned the joke about me never having Gear 12 Geonosians, which I believe I still don't to this day. And that's why I was so big on early, new game players who weren't as experienced, farming up Traya, giving her Zeta, and getting a Darth Vader to a high relic level, especially once Merciless Massacre came out, because it was a team that was an STD team. It should be really easy if you have the counters, but a lot of people just weren't developing the easy steps to build those. And we've transitioned past that, luckily. Traya is not just a Geonosian counter, but now Traya is one of the best defensive teams in the entire game. If you can get Traya with an Omicron, Savage with an Omicron, Talon has an Omicron too. I should probably apply it at some point. But if you can get this team, boost up Savage and then boost up Traya and then fill out the rest of this team will fuck shit up for the end of time. This team, is unbelievably amazing. And I see so many people with the team up and running, but either they're like Gear 12, Gear 11, you have Omicrons to spare, but you're not spending them. If you have SLKR and you're very heavily focused on offense, you'll notice that this group right here and these are defensive teams to help give you a boost to make up for the holes that you have by farming SLKR. And lastly, it's CLS, and you probably already have CLS, but the reason I put him here is because a lot of people have the team with like a relic CLS and then like everyone else is super weak. Always be upgrading. Like the CLS is oftentimes how I view the overall health of a roster, because as you progress up the like tier list of what your account looks like, you should always be coming back and filling up this CLS team. And it kind of happens naturally as you farm Galactic Legends and the ships and stuff like that, because occasionally, C-3PO or 3PO and Chewie and Han Solo, like these become requirements for certain things. So it's kind of like a passive barometer for how advanced people's rosters are in a lot of opinions, or in a lot of ways, because you have to relic these guys up. But I noticed so many people just having like this team really weak, and this is one of the best teams. This is my favorite team in the entire game, and it has been since I started playing, basically. I actually used to think CLS, when I was really, really new to this game, I thought CLS stood for, instead of Commander Luke Skywalker, I thought it stood for Chewbacca, Luke, Solo, because those were the three characters that I was seeing used in the CLS team. 3PO and Chewie didn't exist in. I'm sure C-3PO was there, but, this is what I thought CLS stood for, which is actually kind of funny. But always be iterating, always be improving this team, because this is one of the best teams ever. It will always be good. It's amazing on offense. It's amazing on defense. Datacrons, when those come out, this team can become even more fucked up. It's just fantastic. But moral of the story is, post SLKR, make sure to kind of wrap up some holes in the defense. If you have all of these and you don't have double Revens, that's always a great idea. If not, I'm sure there'll be more videos every single day for 369 straight days at the exact same time, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. Thank you guys so much for watching. Join the Patreon if you want to test out the Cube Discord mod. As always, I love you, and I'll see you later.